Vesta, how are you? So good to see you here. Always look forward to your name. Hi, Mary. Thank you for watching. Welcome. Hi, Deborah. Oh, my goodness. Teresa, thank you for being here. And Jean, thanks for sharing. Susan, oh, my goodness. Hi, Marilyn. Oh my goodness, there's so many of you hopping on. I'm so happy. You know, this winter storm that's going through, it's been covering 2,000 miles, if you haven't heard, all the way from like almost to Arizona, all the way up into the upper East Coast. Hi, Noreen. So it's covering a lot of ground, and I say luckily we didn't get the severeness that they were calling for at first. The storm kind of stalled out and took its time getting here, so it delayed it a little bit, and we're on our 4th round of shoveling. We just like to keep up with it because the deeper it gets, the harder it gets to shovel. But today the snow is really light and fluffy. Yesterday, it was the heart attack snow that they warn you about. So we really had to take it easy, but today it's nice and fluffy. Hi, Cheryl. And, in fact, my husband is out there right now. And we were up at 6 o'clock this morning and outside shoveling. And it's supposed to snow nonstop for the next 24 hours. So we're trying to keep up with it. Marilyn, you got 12 inches. You got ice. Oh my goodness. You know, that's what we were worried about, was the ice. We were fortunate in that the transition from rain to snow was really rather quick. We did have some slush. That was our first round of shoveling, as we wanted to get the icy slush off of the driveway and the sidewalks. Hi, Tammy. And then keep going. But you know, ice scares me more than snow. So I really, really do not like to see it when my friends are having to deal with all that ice. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Jane. So anyway, this storm is pretty much reaching all of you. Jean, you don't have no snow or ice yet? Oh, you are still in the rain. Do you know if you're supposed to get any snow? Hi, Lisa. My goodness, 21 viewers right now. That is so awesome. Hi, Janelle. Boy, I'm super excited that you're 23. I think that could be like my largest audience so far. Michaeline, hello. Thank you for sharing. Okay, I've got to quit watching that number because it's just getting me so excited. Yesterday, I did post a PDF, and maybe I made it too complicated, over explaining. Hey, Stretchy, say hi to everybody. No, look at my camera. Hey, bud, say hi to everybody, because now you're getting down. This is Stretch. Always where he's not supposed to be ever since we rescued him off the streets as a kitten. He always gets into places he's not supposed to. And he's a very affectionate kitty, so he needs to go down. Okay, so anyway. So I thought no, get down. You're going to ruin something. We're going to start with the... Oh, thanks, Vesta. We're going to start with how I made my stencil. And if anything, that's probably the most confusing part, maybe, when you were reading how I was trying to explain that if you don't... Oh, Stretch's fan club, he appreciates you. If you didn't have a punch or a die, then you could make your own stencil just cutting that 1-inch square out of some scrap cardstock. Oh my goodness, you guys are cracking me up. Um, so we'll do that, and then we'll get started. And if you don't have a 1-inch punch, you can use varying sizes, but then you'll just need to adjust. Once you make your 9 patch, then you can add your layer behind it, whatever that finishes out to be, and then just design the rest of the card around the size of your quilt block. So if you don't have 1 inch, that's fine. This can be adjusted for anything. You'll just have to tweak your measurements the rest of the way. Hi, Sharon. I'm so glad you're here. 29. Oh my goodness. Okay, I gotta stop looking at that number. I'm so oh, it hit 30. Okay, now I gotta stop. I am going to flip the camera around. That way I can't see it. Hold on. And then just let me get situated here. Got to balance everything out so nothing falls over while I'm shouting in your ear right now. Let's see. We got to switch some things around. So, whoops. So that it's the right way. Oh. And tighten some things down, apparently. There. That might be better. Now I'm going to make it come forward. There we go. Okay. I think we're good now. Okay, didn't mean to talk so loud in your ears. This is the card that we're making. Oh, and for everybody new, I should introduce myself. I am Julie Heights. I live in Toledo, Ohio. And I am the Chirpy Card Maker of Quilts and More. So thank you so much for being here. This is the card that we're going to make. Now, really, the card is based around a technique. So that's what I want to teach you more than anything else, is how we can make a 9 patch with our blending brushes. You may have daubers, different kind of blending tools. A year ago, during National Quilt Day, we freehand painted, watercolored a 9 patch. But this is more, it's not as loose, okay? So I wanted to show this because I really wanted to play with my brushes and combine a technique with a quilt block. So this is what we're going to do. But I want to show you how I made my mask or my stencil so I could get my squares, okay? Oh, Tammy, that is so funny. I've made it to the big screen. Oh boy, that kind of makes me nervous. Hi, Della. Thanks for sharing. Carol? Wow. Okay, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. When I mentioned a punch, this is a 1-inch punch that I have. And what I found is if I used the same stencil for all 3 colors, once I changed my color and I started blending everywhere around, let me show you here. All of this ink that was left from the first color, when I would go to move this stencil to the next spot and change my ink color, when I started blending in off of the cardstock, I was picking up ink here and transferring it down. So it didn't happen all the time, but when it did, it didn't really make a big deal to me because the more color variations going on in my 9 patch, I thought, you know, the prettier the quilt block was going to be. But if you're trying to stay specific and true to color, then you may want not may, you should have a stencil for each different color of ink that you're going to use. This is what I'm talking about. This is my Fresh Freesia. By the time I got done doing these other colors and got to here, this is what my Fresh Freesia looked like, a little darker. I don't mind that, but like I said, if you're trying to stay true to your colors, then I would make sure you had a stencil for each one, okay? I hope that makes more sense than what I tried explaining in the PDF. So what I did is I just took a piece of scrap cardstock. This is an old retired color. I want to make sure that I don't have my stencils too close together because I really don't want to run into getting into the other colors of ink. But also I want to make sure that my piece of cardstock will cover my 3 1/4 inch square so that I am not getting ink. You know, when you start blending, you might forget that, oh, I've got part of my cardstock here showing that I don't want to get ink on. So I just go big with a piece of scrap paper because I am one of those who will forget. I'll get so into the process that I'll forget. So what I did was I took a 1-inch punch and I just stuck it all the way in. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move around and punch out make this my stencil, 1 square for each one of my colors. Okay, so that's what I mean by that. Now, if you don't have a punch, maybe you have a die, you can do the same thing. But if you don't have either, then what you can do is you can cut out a 1-inch square out of scrap pieces of cardstock. Cut out a 1-inch square. Let me bring in something here. And then what you can do is you can lay it down and you can take a pencil. Now you're going to want to make sure that it's pretty straight. But then you can take a pencil, trace around that square, and with an X-Acto knife or your paper trimmer, you can cut it out. Now with your paper trimmer, if you're trying to line up this line here in your track, it may be a little hard to judge. So then what I did was I took a ruler and I just lined it up on that line and drew a great big tic-tac-toe board so that when I put the lines in my paper trimmer, that line will go all the way down and I can line it up. Here, I'll show you in just a second. Okay, so there's my large tic-tac-toe board. And then if I bring in my trimmer, let's see if I've got enough room here so you can see what I mean. I can put this pencil line in the track of my trimmer so I know where I'm going to cut. Then I can bring my blade down, and if you'll notice on your blade, can you see how there's this line here on the side? Your blade sits right in the middle there, in the middle here, but this line right here on the blade handle lets you know that that is where your blade sits. So then what I would do is I would line that indentation and then I will slide it down 1 inch and I can see my other line, this one here. And then see how that it cut right there from there to there. And then I would just keep turning my stencil all the way around. If you don't want to get this involved, you can punch a square out of something smaller. Just make sure that you're masking off any exposed parts of the white square so that you don't accidentally get ink on where you don't want it to be. Okay, is that helpful? Cheryl says, great idea. Be sure to wipe off regularly so the ink does not smear because ink would not dry around the edges. Good, good point there. Also, does the cardstock get saturated? It can if you use it a lot, but actually for this small project, I don't think it gets that bad. Depends on how heavy-handed you are with your ink. So, you know, and depending on how dark or the hue or the saturation of color that you want, if your goal is a certain darker color and you're really laying down a lot of ink to get to that, then I would say yes. Maybe you might have to create more than one stencil. But if you go light-handed, you should be okay. Oh, wow. Susan, I never thought of a window sheet. I have some of those sitting around from stamp sets, the photopolymer stamp sets. I just never thought about that. You could wipe them off. Hi, Mindy. Good suggestions. Okay, Vesta's trying a 3/4 inch. Okay. Okay. Then what I would do, Vesta, is 3/4 inches. That's 1.5 inches. So your 9 patch is going to finish at like 2.25 inch square instead of 3. So make yourself a 2.25 inch template. Make yourself, instead of a 3-inch square template, make yourself a 2.25 inch square template. And then your background layer would be 2 3/8. So you'll just have to adjust the sizes as you go down. So if there's not any further questions on the stencil, we'll get into creating a border that's going to keep us contained. So this is the 3-inch square. This is my 3.25 inch square that we're going to actually blend on. So with the 3-inch, what I'm going to do, I took a glue dot and put it on the back and just touched it and touched it and touched it so it wouldn't be so tacky. And I am going to center that on the larger square, push it down just a little bit so that that glue dot holds. And then I am going to trace with a pencil around the outside edges. You don't want to go too dark. Oops. My glue dot might actually be losing its tackiness because I've been using it quite a bit. You want to use a pencil, that way you can go back and you can erase your pencil lines. This is going to just help you keep your 9 patch, you know, with a nice little border, and does not have to be perfect. Okay, so now we have what we are going to be blending on. I just got a set of brushes. I really like these. I'm still learning them. They clean off really well with the chamois. you're going to get some staining on them, but I was really surprised at how much actually really did come off. I don't know all the techniques for cleaning them, but I did find that on the chamois, it took a lot of color off. These are so soft. They're just so neat just to rub your fingers on. So I'm going to be using the blending brushes. You may have daubers or some other kind of blending tool. And let me bring in my stencil. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is pick a square, but I am going to put this lower left-hand corner into the lower left-hand corner of my square. I'm going to bring it towards me just so I can find it. And I'm going to look for the pencil lines to let me know that I am rather straight. Oh, one other thing that you might want to do before you do anything is take a low-tack piece of tape. This could be painter's tape. If you don't have low-tack, then take your tape off, put it on your clothes, and take it off so that it takes, oh my goodness, this is wall-safe tape too. So it takes some of that off. It'll hold it, put it just on the outside edge, outside your drawn line, just to help hold it down, okay? Now, we'll take our template and we'll line up. See right here, you can see my pencil line, but I want to put my stencil right on the lines, or pretty close. And I'm working with Granny Apple Green, Pool Party, and Fresh Freesia. So I'm going to take one of these. We'll start out with Fresh Freesia. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to load some ink onto my brush. Again, make sure that I've got my... You do not have to be perfect. Hold your template in place, and then you can start off of the edge, or you can go right to and just start loading your color, making it as light or as dark as whatever you are imagining in your design. And I like to go all different directions so that it shows a nice blended square. And then when you take your stencil off, you'll see your first square. Now the next thing to do is I'm going to set this color aside because I will be coming back to it. I'm going to go to a different square. And I am going to see how you can see the pencil line, and you can see where you left off. So we're just going to do the best we can in lining that up. And let's bring in Granny Apple Green. Find my brush that I had used Granny Apple Green on. Load it with some color. Granny Apple Green, I'll tell you, you don't have to put a whole lot, you don't have to put a ton of color on your blending brush because it picks up really well. Look at how easy that was. Okay, and so now we have our second square. We're going to set this aside and we're going to bring in Pool Party. And I like working from the lower left-hand corner and working my way up. That's just me. Now, which one did I not use that? Yeah, this one here. And so now I'm going to line up. I'm going to go for the corner, and I want to show you something. So I'm going to line up my pencil marks on the bottom and the right side. Load up some color here of Pool Party. Make sure I've got some pressure down so my stencil isn't moving around on me. We're gonna... Pool Party takes some layers. Don't want to move that around. It's a rather light color. I think I might have moved it. Go the other way to get any ink that might have been in the bristles that got missed by the way the bristles might fold. See how the color's getting a little darker? And I'm good with that because I'm going to be stamping my image in black. I don't want my colors too dark behind my stamped image. So when I take it off, look at here. I've got this white here, right? Not a big deal. Bring your stencil back. I might have gotten over too far to the right. Line it up. See here, I can see my white. I'm just going to go and cover that up. I could have done it with Granny Apple Green, or I could have done it with the Pool Party. Okay, and now I've gotten it closer to the last square that I did. Okay, so now it's closer. Wow, the colors look so dark on the computer than it does in front of me. Now we're going to move up a row, and we want to choose a different color to go up there. So I think I'll just bring my Pool Party back over here. So which one was I using for Pool Party? I think it was this one. We're going to just, my head might get in the way, I'm sorry. Just going to try and line up my lines the best that I can. Remember, if you pull your stencil up and you see that there's some white, just expose that white and go over it again with whatever color it is that you're wanting to use. So here's the Pool Party. And, you know, to make your 9-patch interesting, maybe change up how saturated your squares are. Give yourself different shades of those colors. It adds a lot more interest to your background. Okay, so now there's that one. And now I don't want Granny Apple Green on top of itself, so we'll come in, we'll go back to the Fresh Freesia. And I'll just do a couple of more. You get the idea of how I did this. And I'll pull out one that I've already got done. We're going to be stamping an image over the top of this 9-patch, and your image might be more bold. I'm using the stamp set Friendly Hello, and I'm using the papers from the Friendly Hello Celebration Bundle. I just lost my train of thought of what I was going to say. Okay. There I have a little bit of white. I don't know if, oh, I will, because that'll probably haunt me. Just a little blending there. But you get the idea. Then I would come in with Granny Apple Green here. I don't want two colors that are the same color next to each other. So you get the gist of how you are building your 9 patch. Let me see if there's any questions. That way you can just keep playing. And I see that you're sharing some ideas with each other. That is wonderful. Oh, Vesta. Yes, you might get some inky fingers, Tammy. You might. But just keep building your squares there. I actually do like that I have different shades going on. Within the paper, let me show you that real quick. The paper that's in the designer series paper for this bundle. For instance, look at the different shades of the fresh freesia. Lighter in some areas, a little darker in others. So it gives you, with the different shades, you can really be okay with not making every single one match. But this is the floral side of the designer series paper. And then when you flip it over, these are the colors and the patterns for that. But as you can see, different shades of the same color. So don't, unless that's exactly what you want, is every single, the squares to have the same balanced shading. It's okay if you're a little darker on one and a little lighter on the other. Okay? So I'm going to bring in the one that I already have done, and just, what I should really do is close up these ink pads before I wear all of these colors. Because that would be my luck. And now I'm going to lift this one off, and then be careful that you don't, just be gentle pulling your tape up. On the card that I already did, I did tear my paper the first time and I had to glue it down, but you know what? It gives it that kind of like little rugged edge, which I thought wasn't that bad. So there we have the 9 patch. And now we can get to stamping our image. What I am going to use, what in the world? I keep just putting stuff to the side of me and then forgetting. So I'm going to use these flowers, that leaf, this leaf, and then this stamp right here is now my absolute favorite stamp. I will probably pull it from this stamp set in a lot of cards. It stamped so nice. I'm like, yes, that's going to get a lot of use. So I'm going to use the flowers. I'm going to bring in my piercing mat because these are photopolymer. They're going to need some cushion behind them. And I'm using my Memento ink. I'm going to make sure it looks, you can tell when you just hover it over your piece below, make sure that I've got ink on all my petals. My Memento is like hit or miss in some areas on coverage. I've re-inked it, but I might have been heavier in one area than the other. So let's just put this down. Give it a nice little bit of pressure. Make sure my ink is all going to transfer, because if I lift it up and it isn't all covered, then I got to start over. Stamparatus would be a good thing to be using in this instant, because if you did miss a part, you could re-ink it and put it right back down exactly in place. Not bad. Not bad. I like it. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in some leaves. I'll do my big leaf first. I'm really interested to see what images you chose from your stash to do your focal point, your focal image. Okay, so I'm going to bring this one in. I'm going to bring this towards me. And I am going to put that leaf right there. And then I think I'm going to bring it down going the other direction. Oop, I can tell I didn't get it totally covered. Bring this going this way. Okay. And I think I'll use the rest of my little leaves just to fill in around and kind of balance out the flower. And I want to, okay, I found the juicy part of my Memento ink pad. I want to stay away from that. Okay. And let's just put, let's give him a friend. This big leaf, let's give him a little friend there. And let's put a leaf coming out from the flower there. And then let's balance it out here with some more leaves. And let's do, one more. And if this goes outside of my line, I think that's going to be okay. It's going to be really close, but I'm okay with that, because this leaf here came out to the edge. So I'm going to be okay with that. I'm going to leave that alone. And while we're stamping, I went ahead and I already stamped my hello friend. And I did it ahead of time because I just felt pressure stamping on camera on certain stamps, because I was getting the hang of such dark, bold letters. I didn't want to mess up in front of everybody. So I'm going to take that Spriggy stamp and I'm going to ink it up in Granny Apple Green, and I'm just going to put it over here to the right of my sentiment just for some decoration. I just love that stamp. I don't know what it is about it, but as soon as I stamped it for the first time, I was in love with this stamp. Okay, so we've got all of our stamping done, and now we're going to put the card together. So let's get a lot of this stuff out of my way and bring in my pieces. So the card base is 8.5 by 5.5, and I scored it at 4.25. It's your typical portrait orientation for a card. And then my layering pieces, I'm going with basic black, and this is 4 by 5.25, and I am going to glue that down to the card base. what I'm going to try and get in the practice of, because I know this is probably just making somebody cringe, is, well, really I can't do it in this card because of the layering on top. But if I was putting this down, but it was a layer that I'm covering up such a wide area, instead of wasting this middle, grab your favorite label punches or a die that you like and cut your pieces out of the center and just set them aside for another project. Because if you're covering this up, nobody's going to see that you punched anything out underneath, and it really does help your materials go a long way. And we like that because we could be spending that money on a stamp set instead of more cardstock, right? Okay, so there's, whoops. Okay, so there's our background. And then we've got 2 pieces of Designer Series paper, 1.5 by, where's my cheat sheet? Well, let's just measure it. 1.5 by 3.5. Just kind of, it's a little tough to put it down when I'm not having it right in front of me. And then this is, I know it's 3.5 inches long, 2.25 inches by 3.5. Then we'll just give ourselves a nice little border all the way around. Put that down. If it's not perfect, just remember we're going to be putting a layer over the top. And then I'm going to put my sentiment down here. Like that. And your quilt block, bring that in, and you've got the, if this was 3.25, I went up 1/8 because I just wanted a thin, like a peekaboo border around. So my layering square was 3 3/8 inch square, and we'll glue that down. Okay, and I liked it when I put this on a tilt. Before, when I first started, I was trying to keep it center, and I was playing around with my black twine underneath it, and it happened to make it turn a little bit, and I'm like, oh, I like that with it turned just a smidge. So what I'm going to do is I want to pop this up, so I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to use the black dimensionals since I have the black cardstock. And I think that'll be enough. Take the backs off. And then just put it in front of yourself and tilt it just a little bit if you like that look. If you don't, if you like it centered, then go ahead and center it. And then I made a little tiny bow that I just need a glue dot for. It's feel if I have any left there. There's one. Kind of bunch it up on my knot there. And then I'm going to put it right where these two squares meet. Just roll that around, tuck in that glue dot there. Play with your bow. So there's just a little tiny bow. And then I want to put some bling on it. The iridescent rhinestones, I tried ordering them yesterday, and they're not orderable because the shipment hasn't come in yet. So what I want to show you is I'm just going to use the opal rounds then. Kind of has the same effect. And we're just going to put some bling on our card. Okay. And so what I like is the opals will play off of the colors that you have. So there's the card. Now, we can put an insert in. I cut a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of Pool Party. I don't know what I want it to say yet on the inside, so I'm not going to stamp anything. And I may have forgotten to put these dimensions for the inside layer in the PDF, but it's the same dimensions as the back. I like to decorate the backs of my quilt cards. So 4 by 5 1/4. Oh, some glue really came out of there. Let's kind of spread that love around. And then put our back on. Last thing I need to do is put my little button. So I've got my button that it's got my name on it, created by J Heights. I punched that out with a scallop circle. I'm going to put it on a scalloped or flower type punch there. Put that on the back. And our card is done. What do you think? Oh, I know. Oh, Marilyn, yes, I could stamp the bird. You're probably all thinking, I can't believe she didn't use the bird in the stamp set. I can't believe that I didn't either. I did stamp with it on a piece of paper. I didn't like, I don't know, I got real picky about if I was covering the, making it look proportionate. And I needed to add to it, but I wasn't sure what else to add to it to kind of make it bigger. So I didn't. But you are so right. I could stamp him. I am going to stamp him, Marilyn. Thank you for suggesting that. This bird is going to go in this card. I got to decide if I want it down here. I'll have to think about that. Thank you for reminding me, but I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, I can't believe she didn't use the bird. I want to check and see if there's any questions. Okay, I really like that you like the card. I am really looking forward to seeing what your cards are going to look like. Practice the 9 patch, and you may come up with a totally different method for doing it. But I want to shout out to Jean Hoffman, who the spinning wheel. I put all the names in a spinning wheel app to see who the winner would be. To their card would grace the cover photo for the group page, and Jean's name was drawn. So that's Jean Hoffman's Farmhouse Valentine. That is the cover photo for the group. I will draw another person next week with this technique. You don't have to do this card, but I would like to see your technique done in a card, or maybe you have a different kind of layout, scrapbook page or whatever. But everyone who shares a photo of their quilt, their 9 patch block, then your names will go on the wheel, and we'll see whose project adorns the group page for next week, okay? Or it would be, I would draw next week, it would be there for a week, and then see who, another artist that we can share on the group photo. So that is it for the project. One quick thing is, this is the block of the month, the barn quilt block of the month for February. We have a shamrock and we have a Celtic knot here. The cost of the kit is $10. You get everything you need to make these 2 cards. And you'll get the patterns. You'll get a PDF that's emailed right after I mail them out. And we do a Facebook Live at the end of the month if you don't want to put them together on your own. But this is the Barn Quilt Block of the Month card kit. If you're new, just message me your email and your mailing address so that I can get you on the list. The invoices come via PayPal. It's a recurring invoice, which means you'll get one every month for the new barn quilt, but it is not a subscription. You're not locked into anything. If you don't like the card kit, don't pay the invoice, okay? Because I want to give you the ability, you know, to pick and choose what months that you like. So just a reminder that registration for this card kit is through the 9th of the month. And then on the 10th, the invoices get sent out. Okay? So that's it for me today. I hope you like the project. And I can't wait to see whose quilt block will be the cover of our group page a week from now. Everybody, thank you so much for spending time with me. I'm so excited about how many viewers we had today. That, I believe, is my highest ever. So I'm really excited about that. And I really love seeing that you talk amongst yourselves and share ideas. That's pretty cool. We have a great community over at the Quilt Cards and More group. Lots of friendships I see being formed. And I love that. That is the best compliment ever for a teacher. So I'll quit talking, okay? And have a blessed day. If you've got bad weather, the snow, the rain, the ice, please be safe. Please be careful. And because I want to see you here next week, okay? So I'll talk to everybody later. I got snow to shovel.